When do you think AI is going to take over the world?
I would say for sure within the next 100 years. It seems like a lot of people that I've looked at seem to agree on that seems fairly reasonable. Before that, it's really hard to say. This is kind of one of those areas where there's so many smart people who all have very different opinions, and I feel like I don't know anything compared to them, but everyone's arriving at different conclusions that are kind of within a range of numbers from what I've seen. So some people say 30 years, some people say 60 years, some people say 70 or 80. It seems like around that time. And so I think I'm defaulting to trusting them as saying, okay, they've studied this a lot, they know what's going on, so it'll probably be somewhere in there. But the other interesting thing or the other interesting way to look at it is like, what exactly does it mean to take over the world? Because if you think about it, AI is already influencing so many different parts of our lives. And so much of what we do and so much of the content that we're consuming is determined by AI or influenced by AI. And in that sense, a lot of it already has taken over the world. I think of that especially with different content platforms and what's being pushed. Like, for example, TikTok. Almost everyone I know, the way they use TikTok is you just open it up, you go to the For You page, and you scroll. And in that sense, their recommendation engine is the one pushing all of the content in front of you. And so, if that's the way that you're consuming content, then almost all of what you're watching is, in a sense, determined by AI. So that can be kind of a scary thing to think about. Like all of what I'm watching is determined by AI, and if the AI isn't pushing the sorts of things that are going to be helpful or beneficial to me, then that might not be a very wise decision. So I think that's sort of the short and long answer of how I look at it.
Yeah, it's crazy because the deeper you go into the AI niche and like the more experts you listen to, the like wider the discrepancy between the guesses are. So some people predict like, as you said, like 50 years, 100 years, but some predict like 18 months because, exponential progress is kind of hard to visualize. So who knows? But as you said, like it's hard to say what it means to take over the world because in some ways it already has, but like I guess the extreme scenario would be like where it's more powerful than humans. And that doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
yeah.
like robots on the streets. People immediately imagine robots on the streets, which actually still has like multiple decades far out because you have to build the robots. But in the software side, that's like much easier to replicate.
Yeah. What's your take on how that would play out with, like, let's say we get to AGI, but it's all just software based, it's all in the computer in the code. How much would that really impact us versus where when we get to like robots or something like that, where more of the kind of everyday person is seeing it?
Well, okay, so I guess there are many scenarios. So I guess if AGI, the assumption is that AGI will be smarter than humans, so it could use kind of humans instead of the robots. It doesn't necessarily have to have a million or a billion machines in the streets. Like it could just manipulate some CEOs of companies and use them to do their, agenda. But that's even assuming that AI will have some sort of agenda, which is a whole another debate. But yeah, I mean, personally, I would probably be more like 5 to 10 years when we're gonna reach AGI or like ASI, super
Wow.
intelligence. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's
That's
it's
sooner
really
than I would have expected.
it's really hard to predict. So I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
So okay, switching
Yeah.
topics a bit. What people, it could be like people in real life or influencers, have impacted your life the most?
I think the generic answer for everyone is like your parents are going to have a big impact, and I think certainly that's the case for me. But I would say, apart from that, the number one biggest person for me was Tim Ferriss, who, if people don't know, is the author of a book called The 4 Hour Workweek. He also has the Tim Ferriss Show, which is a very popular podcast. And he was kind of one of the OGs in the like self-improvement, self-experimentation space, as well as a lot of other different areas of like biohacking and investing and podcasting and doing all of this stuff. But one of the reasons he was so influential is because I found his book, The 4 Hour Workweek, when I was a senior in high school, which for me was just the perfect time. If I was starting to prepare for going into college, wondering about what I really wanted to do for the rest of my life. And this book will completely shift how you think about the world and how you look at the rest of your life. Because all of a sudden, as soon as you finish reading it, you're going to sit around and just go, wow, things could be drastically different than they currently are, and they could be way better. And instead of going to work this corporate job, I could just go live in Argentina and make $50,000 a month off this passive income side business that I started, and then like in my free time just go surfing in the ocean, and that would be amazing. And that's what you feel like is a real possibility. And so it just gets rid of any previous views that you had and is a total reframe. And for me, that was really, really great because I was feeling a little bit lost and not really sure what I wanted to do. And so I read that, and then from there, that kind of got me started on a lot of other books in the self improvement space and in the business space, which started to lead me down a path that led me to where I am today, I would say. So he was a really big one. And then from him, I started listening to his podcast as well. And like on his podcast, he interviews a bunch of really successful people and breaks down why they're successful, their habits, their routines, stuff like that. And so I learned a ton from that. I've listened to hundreds of episodes of that podcast. And that kind of got me into the podcast game as well, where then I started listening to other people and just really, really learning a ton from podcasts because it's a medium different from something like books or videos, which I would consume a lot of. But you have to be right in front of them, reading or watching all of the time. Versus podcasts, you can just pop in when you're walking to class or driving or something like that. And so I learned a lot that way. Other than that, I would say Jordan Peterson is someone who taught me a lot about more of a like moral framework for how to think about the world and how to live a good life. And I think a lot of people have gotten a ton of value from him because he just has such a great way of articulating uh, finding meaning in your life and finding purpose and finding things to work on, and also not being lazy, but also not holding yourself to such a high standard that it seems unrealistic, and then you sort of lose hope and lose faith. And so he was a really big one for me. The one of the other ones I'll throw out is Paul Graham, who, if people don't know, is the founder of Y Combinator, which is basically the best startup accelerator in the world. And tons of companies have come through there, like Airbnb and Dropbox and Instacart and all these really big names. And he he's someone who's not really in the public eye a lot. He doesn't really do interviews from what I've seen. There's some videos of him on YouTube doing talks and stuff like that. Uh,
Yeah.
but he has a bunch of essays on his website, which are fantastic. He's such a great writer and has a really good skill of just cutting through the bullshit and just getting to the meat of something with very few words. And so a lot of his essays informed my ideas on work, what you should work on, how to spend your time wisely, mistakes to avoid, as well as a lot of practical ideas for growing a business. And for me, that also I sort of took it and applied it to growing a YouTube channel. Although it wasn't initially intended for that, a lot of the ideas apply the same. And so he's someone else who I've learned a lot from because yeah, he just seems like one of those people who's really, really wise and has figured out a lot of things and is a great person to learn from. I'd say those are kind of the big three. Obviously, you think about any of the other influencers or content that you're going to consume a lot on a daily basis. Like I listen to a lot of the Lex Friedman podcast or Joe Rogan Experience, things like that. Like you're going to learn a lot from them too.
It's interesting because I feel like both Tim Ferriss, especially with the 4 Hour Workweek, and Jordan Peterson, kind of lately, both of them have such a big impact on the self-improvement niche. But I feel like the 4 Hour Workweek is one of the most like polarizing books out there. Like there are people in the
Mm-hmm.
self-improvement niche who absolutely love it, and then there are people who like kind of hate on it and say that it's just like for people who don't want to work hard or build anything big. So I don't know. Like
Mm-hmm.
personally, I haven't read it. Obviously, I know of Tim Ferriss and I've watched his podcast with like Naval and other people.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
But actually, I recently bought Tools of Titans. So that's the
Mm.
only book of his I have. I still need to read it. But yeah, Jordan Peterson, I don't know. Like, I feel like he's getting a little bit too much hate lately. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, he is, and I don't agree with everything that he is said or done, and I think that's an important thing to consider because there are a
Yeah.
few people out there who will say oh, Jordan Peterson said this, he did this. They'll point out all the very negative things that he's done. And there are with any single person, especially someone who spends that amount of time in front of a camera, talking to people, sharing ideas, you're going to say some things that maybe aren't the best. And I don't hold I learn from people from the best parts of them, not the worst parts of them. You just because you are learning from someone doesn't mean you have to take every single thing that they offer. You just take what works and then discard what doesn't. And so that's how I approach Jordan Peterson. But I think on the whole, most of what he says is really valuable. Some of it gets misrepresented. But again, you don't have to agree with everything that anyone says. If I can just touch on the topic of the 4 hour work week, I think that one's interesting too because I agree there are people who hate on it, and especially even the name by itself. If you just hear it,
Yeah,
sounds kind of scammy. Like, oh, I'm gonna work 4 hours a week only. Like, what is this? It seems silly.
it's a great name for a book.
It is, yeah. It definitely gets people's attention for sure. But what my experience has been with that, and what I've heard a couple of other people talk about, both like my friends and on podcasts, is one of the reasons it was such a great book and such a big success is because it seems extremely doable. The way he markets it, the way he pitches it, even beginning with the name is, oh, this seems so easy. I only will have to work 4 hours a week and then I'll just be chilling the rest of my life. In reality, it really does not play out that way. And I think the people who have what it takes to use the tools that he's putting forth in that book to like actually go and create a successful business, they are the people who don't really want to work 4 hours a week anyways. Like I don't know about you, but I would get bored if I get bored when I'm not doing anything, when I'm just sitting
Yeah,
around, if
same.
I'm lounging on the beach. Like I just like I get antsy after a while. I'm like I need something to do. I need something to work on. And so I think that was more of it's a starting point where you go, wow, this is a possibility. And then once you get into it, you go, well, actually, I don't really want to work 4 hours a week. And it's going to take a lot more than 4 hours a week to get this thing up and running. So let me just do that part first where I work really hard and then get a successful business. And then maybe learn from these other people that Tim Ferriss has talked to or that he recommends their books. And then from there, you almost forget about the part where he said you can work only 4 hours a week. At least that's been the case for me.
Yeah, because like if you like what you do, you don't want to do it just 4 hours a week, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Like that seems silly. If I'm enjoying this, I'm gonna do it a lot more.
I think it's more about like having the freedom to only work 4 hours a week, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a big part of it. Like if you wanted to, you could only work 4 hours a week. And I know some people who have done that. They just said or like they have kids and say, I just want to spend time with my kids. So I'm sort of putting my business on autopilot and that's gonna do its own thing and I'm gonna go hang out.
And so like what's the like main way to do that? Is it through like long-term things like media that compounds, or is it by outsourcing, hiring employees and stuff like that? What's the lesson in the book?
It's a lot of the latter. Like he has one section talking about virtual assistants and how you can outsource a lot of your work to, for example, like people in India was one service he recommended. The thing that's interesting about that book is I believe it initially came out in 2007. And a trend that you'll see with Tim Ferriss and pretty much everything is he is early to the game. He's earlier than almost everyone else, and that's what
Yeah.
really makes him unique. Because if you look at now the stuff that he talks about in the book, basically what it is like drop shipping. Like drop shipping, I think arose like almost directly as a result of what he was putting forth in that book. But he was so early that some of the things he was recommending they weren't outlined in the way people are doing them now. So, for example, one of the methods he talked about for marketing is you would make a list of all the magazines that are advertising your product or that talk about your product, and then you call those magazines and you negotiate a deal with them to put your product in the back so that people go to buy it. If you look at that now, it's like that's so stupid. No one is using magazines to buy stuff. And then we saw the rise of Facebook ads and Google ads, and now everyone's doing that. And that's sort of like that's what he would recommend now instead, but he was just even earlier to the game than that. And so it's a lot of like kind of yeah general drop shipping themes of finding a product that not many other people know about, or maybe there's some market where it's working but there's a different unserved market and so you can transport it from one to the other. And then he dives through a lot of the basic marketing principles of how to actually get people to buy the product, and then once you have it and it's working, outsourcing all of that work to other people for much cheaper, so then you can go and basically travel and do whatever you want.
I think I agree with a lot of that, but I would probably have to disagree with the part of like choosing countries like India or Philippines, because from experience, like the quality of labor, like sure the prices are very cheap, but the quality of labor is like also very low. So like for example, creative services, you can go on Fiverr and find someone who will edit your videos for $5-10, but like that edit will be terrible. Like there is no other way to put
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, no, that is a very real thing, and I think, uh, yeah, that's something I don't have a lot of experience with, so I can't speak to very much. But I think there's obviously wide variations in like how good people's quality is. I'm sure you can find good quality
yeah,
there
for sure.
if you kind of get lucky, or if you pay more. But yeah, some of it is just you're going to lose the quality for sure.
It's interesting that you mentioned Paul Graham because, as you said, almost nobody knows about him outside of the Silicon Valley, community. I know about him through Sam Altman because he came up through the Y Combinator and then took over it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he's a very underrated guy, I feel like.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I cannot recommend enough people to go and learn about Paul Graham. Like it feels like almost every time I have a deep conversation with someone, I'm reminded of a Paul Graham essay that talks about it, and I'm like, this guy can say what I was trying to say way better than me. You should just go read this essay, and you'll learn about it. It's interesting that you brought up Sam too, because I remember the first time I heard about Sam, he was kind of on my radar before any of this Chat GPT or OpenAI stuff because I was reading some of Paul Graham's essays and he was talking about like there's one I think it's called Five Founders and he's talking about five founders who he looks up to as like basically the best founders that he's seen or
Yeah,
heard about. So it's kind of you got like the usual like Steve Jobs, like the founders of Google, and then he mentions this kid Sam Altman, who at the time I believe was the founder of a company called Looped, which didn't do like super well but did okay. And he said that Sam just struck him as someone who was extremely mature and had such a great strategic mind towards business. And then what happened is after Paul Graham left being head of YC, he handed it off to Sam Altman. Like, and this, I don't know, he was maybe like 21 or 23 years old at the time. And he basically said, yeah, just from what I've seen, Sam is so great that he should run Y Combinator. And that's such a crazy thing to just give this to some 20 something year old kid who like you've seen start one company, but he saw something in him. And when I read that, I was like, oh, this guy's Sam Altman. Like he's gonna be a big deal. And now he has been.
okay, so you've mentioned that you think he's going to be like the next Elon. Like, do you mean in terms of like a similar kind of net worth or more of an impact?
I think I would say impact. I think he could have a similar net worth if he wanted to, but I've heard somewhere that he said he has enough money and he isn't concerned about making money anymore. So I think even what I remember is that he wasn't taking money from OpenAI anymore. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I
Yeah,
heard.
he has
Um,
0% of the equity, so he doesn't have any
okay, yeah.
percentage.
Yeah, which like again just speaks to his character. I think that's really powerful. So I think he could have a ton of money if he wanted to, but I think now he knows like I've got enough to do all the things that I want to do, and other than that, I basically just want to work on AI. So I don't think he'll have the same net worth, but the impact will be really really big. I mean, you've already seen it with like ChatGPT has been the most powerful product of the past like almost decade, but like just in terms of products that pop on the scene and create such a splash, like there's nothing like ChatGPT, and it's only getting better and better and better. And so looking at what happens there, I think is all going to be led by Sam Altman. I mean, it seems like OpenAI is ahead of almost everyone else. Even now, I've heard that they are basically putting a pause on some of their development because there's all these concerns about AI safety, and so they said, okay, we're just going to slow it down or stop what we're doing, and uh, and so it's like if you're a business that's ahead of everyone else, and then you just say, okay, we have to actually stop because we're so far ahead of everyone else that they're really concerned, so we're just going to pause for a little bit, and then when they get going again, they're still going to be ahead of everyone else. Like they've got such a dominant lead. And so I think what he's working on is going to be crazy impactful.
Have you seen the Google I/O event from like 3 months ago or 2 months ago?
No, I have not. Was that the one that they unveiled Bard?
Yeah, they unveiled like 26 AI products. So
Okay.
it was
I
like, Yeah, I think like Google probably has similar like quality AI as OpenAI, but they haven't deployed it yet.
Yeah.
Because if you go to Bard, it's still very weak. Like it doesn't even compare to ChatGPT. The only advantage it has is that it has access to the internet, so it's a bit faster, and you can ask it about recent news and stuff like that. But even if you say like, give me the news of, I don't know, the crypto space from the last week, it will give you like 5 things that happened, but like 4 of them will be from last year. It's like it's so bad. It's crazy. But that's because Google didn't give it the latest language model they have, which is Palm 2, but they still didn't release it. And then they're working on Gemini, which is going to be like the next level. Kind of like right now OpenAI has GPT-4. The next level is going to be GPT-5, and that's like Google's Gemini. So I think they said like within 2 months they're going to either release that or finish that. And if they deploy that in some of their products, then I think OpenAI will have to like stop their kind of pause or whatever, and they will have to like update ChatGPT, because GPT-4 is great, but I think they have something better, to be honest. I think like on one hand you have to be kind of, as the AI companies, they have to be on the public saying like they're careful and they're doing everything properly, but as you said, they have the lead, and they don't want to lose the lead that they've built over the past 7 years or something. So if they just like completely stop developing, then Google, Meta, Nvidia, like other companies will just catch up and overtake them, especially given the amount of employees. Like OpenAI only has 350 employees.
Yeah. My thought with that though is I wonder if OpenAI has a lot of advantages because they are smaller and can move quicker and don't have some of the bureaucracy that maybe slows down innovation that some of the big companies do. Like if you look at why startups are successful, that is one of the reasons for it, is because like they can move much quicker, and so they come in and disrupt these big companies that are taking longer to do stuff. And I think even like Google, Facebook, they can move much quicker than some of the older legacy companies, like banks, for example. But I think compared to OpenAI, they still are pretty slow. Maybe not pretty slow, but they're slower. And so I'm always curious if they really could come and overtake OpenAI. To me, it seems like OpenAI is moving really, really quick, but I don't know as much about what Meta or Google is up to.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, like, having less people is definitely advantage, but it's also a disadvantage. Like, if Google takes 1,000 of their best AI researchers and just like puts some urgency on them and like pressure, and like, they could easily like create something better. Maybe they already have something better, because Google is the company who's behind the Attention is All You Need, the scientific paper that there was the big breakthrough in 2017 when they found out about the transformer architecture, which is what allowed these language models to be so smart. So I think like Google actually has some good stuff, but they don't release it.
Why don't you think they've released it?
That's the $1 billion question. I mean, like we can only speculate. Like I don't know. I think they should have released it, to be honest, because like as you said, ChatGPT was such a massive hit. Maybe like some like concern, but then again, just like I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems strange to me to be sitting on it, like because like you said, Bard isn't that good. I had some friends who tried. They're like, Bard sucks. I don't know what they're doing. And maybe it's improved since then. That was a little while ago. But it's like if you have a product that could be as good as ChatGPT, then why would you put out a version that's just noticeably worse?
Well, maybe as you said, the bureaucracy. Like they have a much bigger team of lawyers. So OpenAI maybe they can move fast.
Yeah.
But on Google they can say like, hey, the lawyers stop it before releasing, because like, hey guys, this could be a disaster, and it's $1 trillion company. OpenAI is still a private company.
Yeah, that's fair.
And also like OpenAI, I don't know why, but on the custom instructions, which was like the latest update, latest feature, they took like, well, it's still over a month since it was released in the US, and it's still not in Europe. So like, why? So in some ways OpenAI is moving fast, but in others they're like kind of slow for no reason. Or at least like from my perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hmm.
Okay, so actually, in your about section on your channel, we both have a quote there. The quote you chose is "The young man knows the rules, but the old man knows the exceptions" by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Why did you choose this quote in particular? Like, is there any story behind it?
That one, there's actually not a story behind, but I like it for a few reasons. One is it's one of those quotes that you can take in a lot of different ways, and so I think many people come at it and arrive at different conclusions, which I think is cool. And I kind of like that from a like the YouTube channel standpoint of I don't want to necessarily force someone to believe a certain thing where you come and it's like this is exactly what we think here. It's just here's some interesting ideas, some things that might get you pondering or questioning, but then you can arrive at your own conclusions. And so I felt like that is what the quote was trying to describe. So that was one of the reasons. The other one is that it just felt like it was maybe applicable to me because I'm someone who is a young person, a young man, and so I'm one half of that quote as someone who knows the rules, even though the old man knows the exceptions. I think there's value in both, and so it was like here's a little bit of me in kind of where I'm at. It just felt like it applied to it pretty well. But I'm a sucker for a good quote, and I have
Yeah,
a list on
same.
my computer of all the great quotes that I come across. So I'm always looking for ones that just really hit you and cut to the heart of something.
I don't understand when people say like quotes like are just to sound good. Like, what do you mean? Like, they have so much
Yeah,
wisdom in them.
yeah. There's so many good ones that like will just find you in the right moment. You go, wow, like that's incredible.
Okay, so
There's one actually, if I can just quickly toss
yeah,
this in. There's one I was re-looking at yesterday from Cal Newport, who's the author of a book called Deep Work, really good book. And he said if you're not uncomfortable, then you're probably stuck at an acceptable level. And acceptable is in quotes meaning like it's the place where you don't want. It's like you're in school. Your work is acceptable. It's not great. It's not exceptional.
yeah,
It's just all right. It's passing. And that was just a good reminder that like sometimes you can get comfortable in your life and think, okay, or you can even try to seek comfort and say, I just want everything to work out just fine. But if you're really growing in shooting after something big, then you're going to be uncomfortable a lot of the time. And that's just a good reminder when you're in it and you're like, this sucks. This is so hard. I'm so stressed. Like, yeah, it should feel like that sometimes. That's part of growing.
yeah. Because if it's not uncomfortable, then as you said, you're probably not growing. You're just doing what you could do and leaving a lot
Yeah.
on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so how much do you read? Because it seems like you read a lot.
I do. Unfortunately, it died down a little bit lately just because I've been doing more. I've been spending more time on work, like work meaning my actual 9 to 5 job that I have currently, as well as like YouTube and stuff like that, and more podcasts. But reading is really good, and I think one of the habits that you'll see if you study successful people is almost all of them read, and some of them it's crazy how much they read. Like if you look at Patrick Collison, for example, who's the founder of Stripe, one of the biggest startups in the past 20 years. He's got this list of books that he's read, and it's just long and long and long, and it keeps on going. And it's just stuff you would not believe he would even read in 1,000-page books and all of this stuff. But like these people who are successful are always learning, and one of the best ways to do that is through a book. You can learn a lot through other means. I learn a lot through YouTube. I learn a lot through podcasts. But the thing that strikes me about books is a book can be someone's entire life work wrapped up into 300 pages. And you're not getting that anywhere else. Like even with YouTube, people can make really good YouTube videos, but at most, like maybe I've seen some people spend, 6 months on a video or 8 months on a video, which is a long time. But books, people will spend years and they will also spend decades studying something. And then at the end of their career, write a book covering everything that they did. You can just learn so much through books. And so I do try to read a lot.
Yeah, it's like the highest leverage form of media there is. Because like if you think about
Mm,
it, like you know, YouTube videos are kind of low. I guess TikToks are the lowest. Then you have like YouTube videos. Then you have podcasts, and like a book, as you said, like that's really distilled knowledge. It's like almost as pure as it could be. Like the next level would be basically downloading the information into your brain straight away. Feels
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So like, what's your favorite like top three? By the way, just quickly, I realized, as you mentioned, like the most successful people, even Sam Altman, like I think he said he reads 100 books a year, which is two a
Yeah.
week. And
Yeah. That's
the craziest I've heard is Theodore Roosevelt, the president, in the early 1900s. He
mhm.
was reading 2 books a day
Wow.
as a president.
That is just incredible. Yeah, that's
Okay,
wild.
so what's your
Um,
top three books
yeah,
of all time?
top three. So I would say first is 4 Hour Workweek, which I already mentioned. That is
Okay.
a really good book. And I think I will say that one may not be impactful for every single person. If you're kind of already into the self-improvement or business niche, a lot of what it says is stuff you'd probably already know. I just found me at the right time, so it was really good for me. So that's one. Deep Work by Cal Newport is another that I think is so solid for uh, getting work done in our age of distraction, where there's distraction at every turn. You can open your phone, you can open your computer, and you can find things to distract you from what you should be doing. And so that one is really good from a tactical standpoint of here's how to apply some things to help you get work done, but also just good from a philosophical standpoint of reminding you of the importance of doing deep work where you're not distracted and resisting distraction. And so that's another one that I would put out there. Um,
It's crazy because
Kind of thinking.
a lot of the times people like even think they're productive by doing a lot of busy work. Maybe they have email open, some messaging app,
Yep.
and like 20 tasks, like switching in between them. So they may be working, 10 hours a day, but they maybe only get like 2 or 3 hours of actual work done because they have like so little attention span and they get distracted by work. It's not just like when people think of distractions, it's usually, stuff that's not work related, like, social media or whatever. But a lot of the times it's just like scattered work. And when I read that book, it like kind of opened, the possibilities of like how much you can get done in an hour. Because a lot of people don't even
Yeah.
know. A lot of people think it's like just
Yeah.
working 14 hours, but if you take someone who's like actual deep worker, they can get 3 times the amount of done as someone who's just like shallow and clicks around.
hmm
And
Yeah, that's such a good lesson. And it's such a I love when that happens when you get a reframe of how much you could actually be doing. And I remember I learned that too from Teddy Roosevelt. I was reading, actually, maybe it was in Deep Work, they talked about him as an example of someone who just was go, go, go from the minute he woke up to the minute he went to sleep, was like doing so many things. And that didn't even, but he wasn't doing it like you said, where he was just trying to be busy for busy's sake. Like he actually had things that he wanted to accomplish and he was accomplishing them, but he didn't let any of the other little small stuff get in the way. And I just remember reading that and I'm like, I could be doing so much more. Like it could be so much more than this. And so that's a really good reframe and kind of gets you going again. So that's one. Uh, Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life is another one. I know we kind of already talked about Jordan Peterson, but since he was such an impactful person, his book goes right along with that. Another one I'll mention is I'm trying to think what it's called now. It's a book by Derek Sivers. It's called Anything You Want. And so if you don't know, Derek Sivers is a guy who he started the company CD Baby, which was an early internet company, and then sold it for tens of millions of dollars in his career, and then donated all the money to charity, actually, because that's just the sort of person he was. But his book is about entrepreneurship, and there's some good lessons in there of um, things to do that are helpful for building a company, especially like lots of little things that make people love your company, which I think is really important. But the other thing that it's really good for is just a general philosophy of what business is for and how you should be living your life as an entrepreneur, especially talking about how some people, it seems like you're an entrepreneur and you should just be working 16 hours a day. You're working all of the time because you got to make this thing successful and you have to make more money. And that's really not the case for most people. If you're starting a company, yeah, it's because you love it and you love what you do, but you also partly want to make money or find some success because you want to have free time to go uh, explore things in the world and go live an interesting life. And money is just a multiplier to help you do that. And so his book talks about that idea and kind of pushing you to not be so single-mindedly focused on productivity or making money, but creating the life you want from your business. And so that one was also really good. So those are all kind of in the like self-improvement or business space. I want to touch on maybe two more that I found really helpful from like mental health standpoint or kind of philosophy or kind of not quite spirituality, but like mindfulness standpoint. So Waking Up by Sam Harris is a really good book about meditation and about like different states of mind that you can be in, and is really good for helping you just cut down on some of the mental chatter that I think we all experience of your mind saying, oh, you're not good enough for this. This is never going to work out. All this constant self-doubt and overthinking things. It helps cut through some of that. And then there's one called The Untethered Soul, which I was initially worried was going to be a little woo-woo, and there are parts of it that are just
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
little
sounds
kind
like
of over
that.
the top. Yeah, it definitely does. But it's very, very solid. Um, a little hard to explain, but along that similar vein of looking at like you've got this other person in your brain who just has a constant, never-ending stream of thoughts about everything that's happening in your life, and sometimes that can be really, really unhealthy and really unhelpful. And so it's about how to look at that from a different perspective and not to have your life be dragged around by this random thought machine in your brain that's always like, I need to state my opinion on this. You should feel bad about this and you should overthink this. It's like that's just not helpful. So it provides some tools for how to do that.
Yeah, I haven't heard of the last two books, so I'll look into them. But I can from
Yep.
the Derek Sivers book, like I haven't read it, but I definitely agree with the lesson because people like often sacrifice everything to get to their goal, especially in like business. And
Hmm.
personally, I don't want to be a billionaire and be fat and sacrifice my health and ruin my relationship with my family and like basically neglect all the other aspects of life. Like you could easily maybe not be a billionaire, but maybe have $100 million and still have all those things. Go to the gym 3 times a week or whatever, and just
Yep.
set your own rules.
Yeah, exactly. Set your own rules. That's a good way to put it.
Okay, and the exact opposite. What are like the most overrated books? Because I've watched the videos you did on the tier list, so I
Hmm.
wonder if anything changed or if you have any other books that you would add into the F tier of like the most overrated. Could be self-help, could be
Hmm.
any other niche.
That's a good question. I don't think I've read any that were really bad recently. I think I either lucked out where I didn't find many of them, or I guess I've just given up on reading books that are not that good. And so I don't know what else there would be that I would add into there, trying to think. But no, I think that list is was pretty solid. And for maybe I'll just touch on that quickly for people who haven't.
Yeah.
David's referencing a YouTube video I made about a tier list of different books that I had read, and so yeah, some of the ones at the bottom were the 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins, which I think again is a good principle, but I'll describe the principle right now. It's just the idea that often, like I've been saying, we overthink things, and that's one of the main reasons that we take action. It's a paralysis by analysis. And so instead, what you should do when you're facing a decision, like for example she gives is you're at a bar and you see a cute girl, a cute guy, and you think you want to go talk to him, but then you start overthinking, oh, that'd be so weird. They're going to think I'm creepy, blah, blah, blah. Instead, you just count down from five, five, four, three, two, one, and then you go and you do it and you don't overthink it. That's a really good principle, but you don't need a 180-page book to describe it to you. Like I just described it to you right now. And so take the principle, but
Dude,
you
you
don't
might
need to
get
read the book.
sued.
She has a TED talk.
Be
What's that?
careful. Be careful, you might get sued. It's just revealed the entire book.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I just stole the information and gave it to you.
No, but like
But yeah, so that's
what you mentioned
go
in
ahead.
that video is really good. If someone has a TED talk, just watch the TED talk.
Hmm. Yeah, that's something I've been trying to live by. If they've got the TED Talk in the book, just skip the book and read the TED Talk because you can learn a lot that way. And also, obviously, if you watch the if you watch the TED Talk, you go, that was so great. I just want to learn more. Then go read the book. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
always time for that.
I mean, there is a ton of like self-help books that are good, but like as you said, just don't need to be 300 pages. I feel like
Yeah.
Psycho-Cybernetics. Do you know that book?
No, I haven't heard of that.
So it's like one of those classics, almost as old as Think and Grow Rich. But it's basically
Hmm.
about, this concept of a self-image that you have to change. Like even Atomic Habits and all these new books reference that same concept. Is that the best way to change is like, change the way you see yourself. So like maybe if you're fat, just like start asking what would a healthy person do, and slowly over time your self-image will change, and as a result your actions, like if you don't smoke, like you're not just gonna randomly go into the store and buy a pack of cigarettes because you have a self-image of someone who doesn't smoke. So that's like the best way to change, because if you change your self-image, your actions will change as a result without any willpower. And that's again like, you can explain that in like a few minutes, and it's a like 300 page book. So
Yeah. Does the book go into specifics of how to make that happen? Because I imagine, like, I agree with that idea, and I think it makes sense. But it seems to me like it's easier said than done. You can say, oh, I'm not the type of person who smokes, but it doesn't always stick, or it doesn't always feel like that.
well, yeah, it does. I think like the best way, as I said, is just asking yourself constantly throughout the day. So let's say, I don't know, let's say someone wants to be more disciplined and improve their work ethic, right? So you just ask, what would a disciplined person do at every one of those 100 mini decisions we face in every day? So like maybe, I don't know, you just finish school and you go home. What would a disciplined person do? Would he open a phone and scroll YouTube, or would he just do 20 minutes of work? Like small things like that. And it's more about just like over time your self-image adapts and you actually start seeing yourself, because like if you have a problem, let's say you're overweight, you have that part of your identity. So you can't just like go from one day to another, okay, I'm a fit person. Obviously that's like deceiving yourself, and you're not going to believe that. So you just slowly ask, what would a healthy person do? And if you do that like thousands of times, your self-image adapts over time. And like, yeah, the book definitely has some tactics. I've read it a long time ago, so I don't remember all of it, but it just felt like the core concept was explained in the first 15% of the book, and then it kind of repeated to just make it a book and not, I don't know, 2 pages.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And one of the things that I'll add on there too, um, which isn't a book, but maybe a general principle, is there's a good quote by Alan Watts where he said, "When you get the message, hang up." And
Hmm.
what I think that means when you get the message hang up is if you know something, if you've understood what they are trying to say, either a book or a person or a series of books, then you don't need to keep reading it. Like the point of reading, or at least the point of reading nonfiction where you're trying to learn something, is you're trying to learn something. You're trying to get the message, and then once you have it, you don't need to waste time uh, reading. I think that's one of the ways that people will sometimes fake busyness. They'll say, "Oh, like I'm reading all these books, but are you actually applying what you learn in the books?" And that's really the important thing. And so, what I found for me, and why I've switched away more recently from some of the kind of traditional or cliche self improvement books, is I've learned a lot of that stuff, and I've applied it a lot in my life and gotten the results that I want. And so at this point, it makes less sense for me to read those same things over and over again just to feel like, oh, I'm reading this new book that everyone recommended. Like if I you get the principles that they're trying to get across, then you can go apply it, but then you don't have to read any more books in that category.
Yeah, I think it's like avoiding what actually needs to be done, because everybody has like, I don't
Mhm.
know, 20 different things they can do at any given moment, and it's like they might be good things, it's not like they're bad, but we all know deep down what is the most important thing, or like the hardest thing we have to do. And it's like if we just work on that for 4 hours a day, it would yield better results than 16 hours of just like the easiest work that's available on the, like
Yeah.
everybody can buy 20 books and just switch between them and read all day. Like there are thousands of millions of people who read 100 books a year, but not all of them have the results of a Sam Altman.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think you have to have some self-awareness there to know what stage you're at and whether or not the reading the books is going to be really helpful. Like I could totally see maybe if you're really young and you don't know anything, you're pretty new to this game, then you should be reading a lot and you should be learning a lot because you don't really know where to go apply things and you don't have a lot of skills. And so at first you have to learn to build the skills. But once you have that and once maybe you've read some books on business and you say, okay, based on this, I think there's this business opportunity here. Now I need to go get tactical skills for this. Then you can switch from reading books to actually going and get those skills. Like maybe it's sales or maybe it's, I don't know, it could be programming. Like if you want to learn programming, I don't think a book is the best way to do it. I'm not a programmer, so maybe I'm wrong, but I
Best
think
way is
there's
to
probably a lot
just
better.
start programming. That's the best
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Or like courses you can go take or stuff online. And so like then you should stop reading books and just go focus on learning programming and then go build your business that way. And when you need some information, you can read a book and learn it. But know what stage you're at and whether or not it's really going to be valuable at that stage.
Yeah, I think that's like really good point. Personally, I think this is probably the best way to read books, is like to read, and once you know what to do, just take as much action as possible. And when you feel like you got stuck at some level, maybe I don't know, for 6 months or 12 months your business isn't growing, then read a bunch more or like do research. It doesn't have to be just books. And then once you know more things to do, some new stuff that you learned, go attack that and take as much action and repeat the cycle. Like you don't have to be
Yeah.
reading 5 hours a day if you know what to do. And a lot of people know what to do. They just like to pretend they don't, and they like learn more, watch YouTube, listen to podcasts when they already know like, okay, I should start this business that I've been thinking about for 3 years. Like, you know,
Yeah, yeah. It feels good. It feels good to just sit there and read a book and it's not too hard. You're on your comfy couch and you go, wow, I'm learning all this information. I'm so productive. But you're ignoring the thing that's actually really what you should be working on.
yeah, because it's like it's kind of a like 3 levels, right? You have the procrastination that's completely useless, that everybody knows it's useless, but then you have the work that doesn't really accomplish anything, but it's still
Hmm.
work. It's still learning or whatever. It can be anything, but it doesn't have much of a leverage, and it doesn't push the ball forward. And but then you have the stuff that everybody wants to avoid, but deep down we all know what that thing is that we have to do. So like I think this goes back to the deep work principle, is that you have to see what that thing is, and then just set aside 2 hours, 3 hours, and just you can only do that until it's done, and nothing else matters.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so are there any AI tools that you're recently using?
I would say, I mean, obviously ChatGPT, I think
Yeah.
anyone would expect that. And let's talk about a few of the ways that I'm using that because I think that might be interesting. So one is for research on videos. I'll use it as sort of like a secondary check to see if I'm missing anything. For example, I've recently begun some work on breaking down some successful people and some of their habits. And so I'll tell them a little bit about them and say, can you analyze why this person is successful? What have they done that has led to this? And by this point, usually I am already writing that out myself and doing my own research, but I will throw that into ChatGPT because sometimes they'll come up with something that I'm missing. So that's one. Another one is names and descriptions. I think that's something I'm not super good at. I'm not super creative in coming up with like the most catchy headline or the title that just jumps off the page. And ChatGPT is fairly good at that, but even more so, I think is I think of it as a multiplier. Like it's a tool that can help make your ideas better or give you something to start on, and then you can expand it. You won't necessarily always take exactly what it says and just copy and paste that as the title of your video, but it has given me many ideas that I go, oh wow, yeah, I would have thought of that. I never would have put it like that. So that's a really good one as well. So there's that as well as some general like rewording or rescripting of videos. I don't really use it to script my videos because I think that would seem a little unnatural or wouldn't really match how I talk. But if there's something that I'm like, I want to express this idea, but I can't express it very clearly. I'm trying this stuff. Here's what I'm trying to say, and then see what it has to say, and that will often spark me to brainstorm on looking at it a different way, and then from there I kind of arrive at something that is pretty good. So those are some of the ways I use it there. Um, The other one that I've recently begun using is an AI subtitle tool. It just saves a ton of time for me because I don't want to actually like have to put captions on my video, but I like having them there if people want to read them. I think it also probably helps with YouTube's algorithm because then like they can show it to more people who maybe are hearing disabled or things like that. And so there's a tool. I think the one I use is called Subtitle. Like it's subtitle but with a Z instead of an S, and that is like it's not a person, it's just an AI that listens to your video and then transcribes it, and it's pretty good. You'll have to edit a few of the things, but it's overall been pretty solid for me, and so that one saves me a ton of time doing that. Those are the ones I use right now. Another thing I want to try with respect to YouTube is using something like Midjourney or some of the image creation tools to try making thumbnails. And again, I don't think their thumbnails, I guess I haven't tried, so I don't know, and I haven't seen anyone do this. I don't think they would be really good. It seems like they wouldn't be good to like match what would actually do well on YouTube yet. But I think again, it would be a really good way to spark my creativity in looking at how I create thumbnails in a different way. And that they would come up with some ideas that I have not thought about before. And then that would allow me to have some more creativity in how I actually make my thumbnails. So that's one I haven't done yet, but I think could be pretty interesting. I don't know. Have you experienced with that or like seen anyone talk about using something like Midjourney to do thumbnails?
Yeah, Midjourney is huge. I use it. I mean, like with all of these AIs, with like same with ChatGPT. If you tell it what's good, then you can have insane results. But like if you go to ChatGPT by default and you don't give it any info and you just say, "Give me 20 great video ideas," you're just gonna get garbage, because it doesn't know what's good. But if you give it already the best, 20, 30 ideas you have, and you tell it, "Give me new ideas in a similar style," or with the same essence, then it can give you some pretty good results actually. So it's more like inspiration. And Midjourney, like with Midjourney, I use it for thumbnails, but you have to have like thumbnail ideas done beforehand. Like if you don't have a banger thumbnail idea, Midjourney is not gonna save you. Like nothing's gonna save you. Like it's more about just having the vision in your head and then using an AI tool to help it make reality. Because you don't like 2 years ago you had to be a really good graphics designer to create something, but now like you can go into Midjourney and let's say I don't know you're making a video on some like productivity tips and you just need these icons, right? Like obviously you can get them online or you can just generate original ones in Midjourney, and that's like insane. You can have your own set of icons or background images or what or like patterns, colors, anything you want, and like the lowest plan is $10. So like I think it's definitely worth it.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
I mean
I know
there
people
are
have done a lot of cool stuff with it.
yeah there are like if you want to go with some free alternatives, there are like I think Leonardo AI is a really good one. But I don't know. I think people just hate on Midjourney because their most expensive plans are, kind of expensive. But like as I said, the cheapest plan is $10 a month, so most people should be able to afford that, especially if they do something professional with it and monetize that in some way. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like like once you try it, it's one thing seeing others' images, and the other thing is just like trying it and like creating something yourself. It's a completely different feeling. And yeah, like I only have maybe 1,500 images generated, which sounds like a lot, but there are people who have tens of thousands, even over 100,000 images generated. So I'm not definitely nothing of a Midjourney pro, but I know enough to know the powers of it. And it's all about numbers. Like if you're just going to type one prompt, the likelihood of you getting the desired result is small. You have to like create multiple variations and then maybe change up the wording, and sometimes you just go completely in a different direction. You create something that you didn't expect to create, and sometimes you just get stuck and you see like, okay, I guess Midjourney can't really do this, especially if there's like you want something really detailed with like multiple objects. Let's say you create like a road and you want dog on the side and people in the background, and you want it very specific way. That's Midjourney is going to struggle with that. It's more like good or like one or two big themes and things. But then you can use something like Adobe in Photoshop. If you have the beta version of Photoshop, there is a new feature called generative fill, and that's insane because you can just select a corner or whatever. Like let's say you take a picture of your thumbnail and you don't like your smile or whatever, you can just generate a new smile, or a shirt, you can generate a new shirt. Like, it's insane. So I definitely would recommend you try Midjourney and Adobe Generative Fill.
Okay. Yeah, because I use Photoshop for creating my thumbnails, but I have not played around with Generative Fill. So that seems like a really good one. But yeah, I'll have to get into Midjourney too.
But yeah, I think like in the AI space, there is like a pressure on everybody to just like have some hidden AI tool in the back pocket that nobody knows about. But in reality, like what I saw is that everybody just uses ChatGPT the most, and then couple of tools on the side for very specific uses, as you said, like captions. But yeah, like ChatGPT is the main one. I think the big leap will be once there is like I'm stealing this from Sam Altman, but the next like big AI will be some sort of a program that knows your entire desktop and all your like keyboard inputs and everything, and just like is your own personal version of your internet identity, and it knows absolutely everything about you. So when you start typing an email, it already probably knows what you want to say. You don't have to use a Chrome extension or something like that. And even in like maybe let's say with tasks, like for me this would be absolutely huge if I just opened my PC and it automatically knew my long-term goals and it just gave me 3 most important tasks that I have to do that day. Like if I had that would just save me like an hour a day instantly.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. That'll be, and it's like that's coming, whether we like it or not. At some point, something like that will be here.
And the crazy thing is that you can just, GPT-4 alone, even if we put like GPT-5 and the future versions aside, if you just took GPT-4 alone and let's say Paul Graham, right? Someone like Paul Graham or Alex Hormozi. Like imagine you can transcribe every single interview and podcast of Alex Hormozi, every single tweet, every single video. You transcribe that into a massive file, a database, and then you feed it into the AI, which can go through it in a few seconds, and then it just knows the closest version to Alex Hormozi himself. Obviously, you can't have him coach you 24/7, but you can have an AI that knows every single thing he ever wrote and said on the internet, and have that tell you what to do. So like that's coming within a year, and people don't realize how huge that's going to be. So you can literally have someone like the closest version to that person impact your life. Like obviously you can choose whatever that is. Everybody has someone else who they want to learn from, but like imagine that person being there 24/7, and especially if you combine that with like, I don't know, some wearable, like we both have Aura rings, right? But that's just like at the beginning. So let's say some, Apple Watch version 25, I don't know what's the current version, that they can just like, vibrate when you're doing something you don't want to do, or like when you're about to eat something bad. Like those things are coming. And obviously like people are like instantly doomsday scenario, but like you can set it up however you want. Like if you don't want to eat sugar and then it starts seeing that your blood glucose levels are spiking, it can start vibrating like, hey, what are you eating? You should probably stop. And it's you who set those goals. It's not like some, someone in tech, a big tech controlling what you do. But yeah, like just from the productive perspective, like it's insane,
Yeah, wow, I never even thought about that as an application. That would be huge. Because think of how many times it's helpful to just have someone as a little reminder, like, hey man, you said you didn't want to do this, so why are you doing it? You said you didn't want to eat sugar, and now it looks like you're eating sugar. And sometimes if they catch you at the right time, you'll just stop. You go, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't want to do this. But like you're walking into McDonald's and you said you wanted to eat healthier, and it vibrates. It's like, no, don't do that. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, good reminder. That would be insanely cool.
And it doesn't even have to be someone else, like an AI of someone else. It could be an AI of yourself. So you can like, input your own tasks, your own, videos or whatever. Everybody has some different forum, like a journal, scan a journal, and it can, see what you're about and what your goals are. And then it can act as, a second version of yourself. Like, you can have a morning David that just says, hey, in the morning you said these are your 3 things. It's 5 p.m. and 2 of them are not finished. So like, get on them. I think like the biggest thing would be just like a notification or like a, vibration or whatever, a reminder that you're doing something you should be doing, but that you think is good. So let's say like you think some work task is good, but in reality there is something much better, you just don't know about it. So I think that would be just insane. Like it could prevent you from like wasting months doing some mistake that someone else already knows. It's on the internet, everything's on the internet, but you just don't have access to all the best founders, CEOs, or whatever. And you could have, let's say, Patrick Collison, just like, an AI of him, and like 5 different AIs of 5 different founders, and all of them would just look at your day and break down the tasks and like, okay, why is he spending 2 hours on this? Like, this should take like 15 minutes. Like, your time is wasted.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea too, to have. Like, I think multiple people that you all look up to and learn from, kind of in your back pocket to help give you their insights. Because that's one of the things that I found is you have to receive the message from the right person. Like, if you have a teacher who's saying, like, and maybe a teacher you don't really respect, or their life
Yeah,
isn't really that admirable, and they say, "Hey, David, don't do this. This is bad." You're like, well, like, who are you to say that? I like
exactly.
you don't really respect that person. You don't know if they are really kind of getting the results that you want. They say you should take advice from people you want to be like. So if you don't want to be like them, then maybe you won't take their advice. But if you say, like I've said, I look up to Tim Ferriss, Jordan Peterson. You mentioned Alex Hormozi, which is a great one. You have all these people, and the AI can scour the internet, see what they say, and they say, okay, this guy and this guy and this guy all say that this task is actually not a good use of your time, and you need to be thinking bigger. And you said that you wanted to work on these other things. You said that 3 months ago, but I haven't seen you work on them. So why don't you switch over to those? And that would be so cool to just hear from the people that you really respect and look up to about the mistakes they've made, what they've learned, and how that might apply to your life.
Yeah, and like, let's say you are facing a problem, and you have this AI that knows all this stuff, because like you can do some of it with ChatGPT, but the context, like the token window, is only 2,000 tokens, so it's small. You cannot just give it an entire book or like 20 books worth of knowledge. So once this becomes available, like let's say you have some problem, right? You can say, okay, what would Tim Ferriss do? What would Jordan Peterson do? And it can give you 3 things from each, and then you have your own brain, so you just choose the ones that make the most sense. But they are already pre-approved because as I said, like the AI will be the closest thing to Tim Ferriss himself, and like if the AI, based on the millions of words that Tim Ferriss has written and spoken, it predicts that those 3 things, like the likelihood of it actually being good is like extremely high,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
and that's coming within a year
um,
easily.
yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Okay, so actually, um, on the video you made about Jordan Peterson, I want to ask, how did it feel when you saw that comment from him?
Dude, it felt wild. It felt unreal. It made my day for sure. And it felt surreal because, like I said, he's someone that I look up to a lot and have learned a ton from. And I like to be someone who, like, I don't want to get starstruck or put this person on a pedestal. Like, he's still a human, and he's just another person. He's a very wise person and someone who has a lot of wisdom to share. But so I tried not to be like a fanboy, but at the same time, a little part of me was there, like, this is so cool. Like, Jordan Peterson commented on my video. He said it was good, blah, blah, blah. So it was really fun. And I think it's in business, or, like, I mean, looking at YouTube as a business, you get a lot of those moments that are the little things that just give you an injection of excitement and make you want to work harder and do more. And that was definitely one of them. And it was a cool little stop on the journey to just see, like, Jordan Peterson watched this and liked it and took the time to comment on my video. And so it was really inspiring.
Yeah, I think that's like the most insane thing about YouTube, is that you never know who's watching. Like
Hmm.
even if you're not getting millions of views, like you can have, your audience can have some insane people in it. You just don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And a lot of times you don't, because you just, like, people aren't commenting. You don't really know, but it could be anyone. So don't underestimate the potential.
For sure. Okay, so you've made your most recent upload, I think, is the 9 best purchases. Um, so for those who haven't seen it, what do you think are the top 3, if you had to say, best purchases in your 20s?
I'm trying to stay away from the cliches, which I talk about in the video, because, like, there's so many of those that I think everyone covers. That it's like, invest in yourself. Like, obviously that's a good one. Um, I think what I would say for me, I would say the Kindle has been insane because of what we talked about reading and learning. So when I'm reading, I read mostly nonfiction. And so I'm doing a lot of highlighting and taking notes because I want to remember that information for later. And the Kindle makes that so much easier to do, and it makes it so much more easily accessible to look back at your notes later on, and so you can remember all of that information. And so I have just hundreds of books on my Kindle, and like I mentioned in the video, in theory, there are ways to get books on your Kindle for free. Not saying I do that, but I'm just saying in theory.
Of
And so
course.
I have a lot of books on there that I've learned from, and that you can take anywhere. I mean, literally anytime I go somewhere, I'll take the Kindle, pop it out, read it. It's easy. You can also send it to your phone. There's a Kindle app, so you can get books on there as well, and then read anywhere you go. So that's a really good one. Um, Another one I would say is, and this is well, the other one I would say is travel to another country. I think is a really big one, and there's some caveats where maybe this doesn't work for everyone or wouldn't be applicable to everyone, but I think it's a really good idea to get out there and see the world. It just opens your eyes to new people and new perspectives. I think one of the things that you see about founders who are really successful is they're all open-minded and they're all willing to look at new ideas. Paul Graham talks about this as like if you're an investor in Silicon Valley, you can't be closed-minded and shut down someone just because they're a 20-something-year-old kid whose idea kind of sounds silly and they're wearing a t-shirt and they kind of stink because they haven't showered in 3 days. Because that could be the founder of Airbnb. Like that's not too far off from what those guys looked like. So you have to be willing to meet a bunch of people who maybe don't look like you, don't think like you, don't talk like you, and be open-minded to what they have to say. And I think travel does a really good job of teaching you that. It just makes you more appreciative of all the things in the world.
Do you
And
know about
so that's
Howard Schultz? Do you know who that is?
the founder of Starbucks,
Yeah,
is it?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He founded Starbucks because of traveling, because he went to Europe and
Mm.
saw the coffee culture, and then went back to the US and said like this is missing, and became a billionaire. Obviously, he had other skill sets, so it's not just like traveling. But if he didn't travel, he wouldn't get that idea, and he wouldn't be the founder of Starbucks.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot about that. I heard that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
actually,
that's a great one.
before you finish the list, I wanted to ask you like, you seem like you travel a lot. So do you know how many countries you've been in total?
I haven't actually been to that many countries as a number, but I'll tell you where all I've been. So I've been to Costa Rica was the first place I went. I went there for 2 months and just stayed in the country, and so that was really great. Then I went to Greece for another month one time, and then I did a study abroad in college, and I went to Thailand, and so I was there for a whole semester, so like it'd be like 5 months, and then from there I went to Indonesia and Singapore as well. And then I also went to Canada. I feel like that doesn't quite count because I'm in the US, but it is
Yeah.
technically another country. Um, so yeah, I just prefer to like if I'm gonna go travel somewhere, I like to do a longer stay, not where I'm just like hopping around to all the touristy things. I like to be there in depth. That's just me. Not everyone works that way, but that's what I like to do. So those are the places that I've been.
So you're actually living the 4-hour work week life.
Something like that. It is like, I don't know. Personally, I really enjoy it when I'm somewhere in another country and I whip open my laptop and then like I'm working on like a little like side business that I've got or YouTube or something and it feels like that's the digital nomad dream and it's like kind of cliche now, but it is a good time.
I mean, personally, I like it. For me, it's just like the most I enjoy the idea before the actual trip. When I'm on the trip, it's good, but then like the second half of the trip, I can't wait to be back home because I already have
Mm.
all these routines and systems, everything in place, and I just like when you're traveling, you have to set up everything from the scratch. Your
Yep.
workout routines, your diet. You don't know where to shop. You're in a new country. It's like all this extra friction, and I don't know. For me, like I always like the idea more than the actual experience. I have to say I haven't done any long like 2 month or anything like that. The most I've been I think it was like 2 weeks. So maybe I just need to live there for long enough to break through the beginning friction where you just learn all the basics like where the local gym is, where to buy good food and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean traveling is huge for sure. But I think
Yeah. I
it's
will say
it's
that is one.
Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say that is one of the downsides of travel is it does disrupt your routine. And if you're someone who really likes routine or really has a good routine, it can be hard for that for sure. That takes some getting used to.
Yeah, I was about to say that people, like a lot of people, have the same problem as with books, where they just like overdo it and all they do is travel,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
don't like have any. I mean, maybe if that's what they want, that's good. But they don't have like any project they're working on. They're just traveling and like barely getting by. Always, have to sacrifice money on food and stuff like that, just because they like prioritize the traveling so much. But again, like if that's their goal, then that's good. But what I've seen is that there can be people who just like take it to the max level, and they all they do is travel, and they don't have like any, you know, base or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And that's where it really comes down to the type of person you are. And that's one of the things that I realized while I was traveling is I just get bored if I don't have anything to do. Like even while I was traveling, a lot of what I would do, some of my favorite days are when I would just sit in a cafe and read a book for 6 hours, or I would edit a video for like 8 hours in a day, and it was great because I like working. I like having something to do. I also like going out and seeing stuff and exploring new places and trying new food, but travel will tell you what you like and what you don't. But yeah, I've met some people who just like they'll just work a few months out of the year to make some money, and then they'll go travel the rest and just live their life doing that. And it's like if that's you, great. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do, but it's just not me.
Okay, so Kindle number one, trip to a different country is number two, and the third purchase. What would that be?
I'm gonna cheat a little bit and give two based on the type of person you are. So like
Okay.
have been talking a lot about self-improvement and business and that sort of thing. And I'd say if you're that sort of person, then what I would try to do is invest in something that is going to allow you to achieve that quicker or more easily. And so for me, that was my MacBook that I bought a while back. It was at that point the most expensive purchase I've ever made. But for me, it was really, really valuable because it allowed me to improve the speed at which I could edit videos and at which I could do other business stuff online where I spent a ton of my time. It made everything way quicker. Before I just had like really slow Windows laptops that would always crash and break down, have to restart them a
Dude,
bunch and stuff like that. So it got really annoying.
Windows laptops, it's not even about cheap. I literally have like one of the most expensive, like not like very high tier laptop, and like there is something about Windows laptops, and I think it's because it's like five companies together. It's not a product from one company. It's like somebody makes
Hmm.
the software, which is Microsoft. Somebody makes the package like Asus. Then you have MSI like making the components, and then you have like Intel making the processor. It's like five companies making one product, so like the chances of something going wrong is insane. And dude, personally, I still haven't found a good Windows laptop, and I think the next laptop I'm buying is a Mac, just because of this. It's like it's not even about ticket price. Maybe I just been unlucky, which is possible. But like the laptop I have now is like the G14 Zephyrus, I think. It's like last year one of the best laptops, like high end, and dude, it's like making weird noises, inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's like, bro,
Yep.
like how is this a high-end laptop? Like, like if this was a cheap laptop, then I would say great, like it's a good value for the price. But at the price point, like it should be perfect. It should be smooth. So yeah, I think next time,
Hmm.
like I don't need a laptop right now because I'm just mostly working on the PC. But next laptop I'm buying is almost certainly a Mac because Windows laptops is just something else, man.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I had the exact same feeling of thinking that maybe I'm just unlucky because I had two before, and mine were, for what it's worth, more or less expensive. But I was like, oh well, they both have been really bad, even though it seemed like they should be better than they were. Like, did I just get unlucky, or is this a Windows laptop thing? So I made the switch, and I'm very happy I did. I'll say that. So that's the one if you're more business oriented and want to do that, like if you're optimizing for productivity and getting stuff done, I think that's really important. It might not be a computer for everyone. Maybe there would be something different, but I think that's a big one for a lot of people that work online. If you are not really focused on that or just want a different angle, one thing that I think is really important is friendships and meeting people and surrounding yourself with people that you really enjoy being with and that you want to be like. And so spending money on anything that helps you do that. So there's a lot of different ways you could take that. One that I mentioned in the video is some sort of activity that brings people together that you can talk to your friends and say, hey, let's all get together and do this. So like
Do
for me,
poker.
that's poker. Yep, I bought a
Yeah,
poker set. Now I play
amazing.
poker with a bunch of people. That's a ton of fun. I really love poker, so it's a great time. Spike ball is another one. I'll play spike ball with my friends. So that's a good one. A different way you could look at it is maybe meeting new people. So let's say, I know this is sort of a cliche now, but people do like coffee chats or something where you say, "Hey, can I buy you a coffee?" And I just want to talk to you for a little bit. And like that works. And so if you could set aside a budget where you say X amount of dollars per month, I'm going to spend on buying other people coffee so that I can talk to them and learn from them. And that's a really good way to meet people and learn from some people who are doing things that you think are valuable. So those would maybe be two ways I could apply that. Otherwise, if your friends like always go out and do something, maybe they go out to a restaurant every Friday, or like you go out for drinks or a brewery or something like that, and like that's just a consistent thing you do. And if you're not there spending the money on the food or the drinks or whatever, then you don't get to hang out with your friends. I think that would be another one that would probably be valuable to spend money on.
Yeah, I think the important part that you said is you said the people that you want to meet, you know, um, because of some like goal, or I don't know how you phrased it, but basically a lot of the time I feel like people just, you know, do social activities for the sake of being social, which is fine, but it's even better if, you know, those people can help your goal or like introduce you to someone else, or it's actually someone you want to meet, you know. So like for example, I wanted to have this call because I think you're an interesting guy. When I looked at your channel, I was like, damn, this guy is also into self-improvement. You know, he tried a bunch of successful people's routine. Like you did a bunch of hard stuff. So like it's clear that you have some experience and something valuable to share. So, you know, obviously this is a virtual meeting, so it's not like a real social thing. But like imagine if this was in real life, I wouldn't do it just because, you know, I need social contact. Maybe this is just me, but I feel like a lot of people just gonna get, you know, I guess their social needs distract them. What I'm trying to say is like they
Mm.
can't handle being lonely for a day or two, and you know just being alone and not going out every single day, and they have to schedule some meeting and you know schedule some hangout or whatever without any purpose, and maybe they don't even like it, but they just like it more than being alone or just you know the
Yeah,
feeling of
yeah.
loneliness. People will do like almost anything to avoid feeling lonely for a few hours. It's crazy. I think we all know that one person who just has to go out every single day.
Yep, yep, definitely.
Okay, so if
Yeah,
I
that's
had to,
very, go ahead.
yeah, finish that. I was about to say something else.
No, honestly, I forgot what I was going to say, but it wasn't. It was just like a small add-on, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, I was about to give my free purchases. So um the biggest one probably is a standing desk, because
Mm,
it just allows you to work so much more without the health downsides. So like sitting is so bad, obviously everybody kind of knows it, but most people don't know that there is an alternative, or like they kind of heard it, but you know don't give it any shot. And like standing desk is so huge because not only can you stand, if you buy a walking pad, you can also walk. So like there is,
mm,
you now have three different ways to work. So sitting, standing, and walking, which is absolutely huge. Like if you want to work long hours with like standing desk is a complete game changer. So that's number one. Number two, I would put like more on the software AI side. I would say ChatGPT plus. Do you have
mm.
ChatGPT plus? Do you have it?
Oh, no, I don't have it. Sorry.
Dude, you have to buy it. It's $20 a month. It's it's insane. It's like three times smarter than the free version of ChatGPT. Seriously.
Really? So it's, I guess I thought it was, I didn't realize that they had now made it so that it's a better version. I thought it was just where there was like the limits or if too many people were on it and you couldn't get access right away and stuff like that.
No, no, no. Like the free version is GPT 3.5. So that's like 2 years
Hmm.
old language model from 2020, I think.
Mm.
And then the latest is GPT 4, which is released this year, and it's not even close. Like when you try it, you'll see. And I think just like if you don't want to, you know, add another subscription, just try 1 month and you'll see how insane it is.
Hmm.
Because like for 20
Yeah.
bucks, like I can't imagine not having that. So that's number two. Number three, let's see. Hmm, I don't know. Probably something health related, I would say. Maybe
Mm.
blue light
Or ring.
glasses. Yeah, Aura Ring. I don't know. Like, I don't think it helps that much. I think Aura Ring could be like just the awareness. Just makes you more aware about sleep and shows how important it is. But I think like for sleep, let's say good blinds. Like you can have blackout curtains, and those will like completely change your sleep. Because for a long time I've had curtains that were like kind of medium. They weren't bad, but in the morning I like my windows are on the east side, so the sun would blast right through them, and I would wake up. So in the summer, that's like 4 a.m. or 4:30 where the sun starts going out, and like I would sleep for another hour or 2 hours if the sun didn't come out. So just upgrading your blinds and just going for blackout curtains is insane. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's number three.
I mean, I can't speak to number two because, like I said, I don't have ChatGPT plus. But first two, I would definitely agree with. The blinds is a game changer.
Okay, so we already talked about Sam Altman. So yeah, actually, how did you find that video? Was it just like random recommended, or did you actually search for it?
It was I was searching for it. I was looking for Sam Altman and was curious if anyone had done like a little documentary or just kind of explaining his life. And then I found that and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I like what this guy's doing.
Yeah, see, on the Sam Altman, I don't know, it's like a complex guy because on one hand, he seems like, doesn't have any equity and stuff like that. He seems super good, like on the, like caring about AI and actually thinking about the positive future. But on the other hand, like his other project, Worldcoin, I don't know if you heard about that. It seems like so sketchy because like it's targeting
I,
third world countries, and it's just like scanning people's retinas, eyes for a couple of dollars. And like I understand the intention behind it, but there are so many ways that could go wrong. It's like I don't know.
hmm.
I have a
I
good feeling about that.
Yeah, I haven't, I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know much of what he's doing. Can you just quickly explain like what's the point of it or why are they scanning people's retinas?
Okay, so Worldcoin is Sam Altman's cryptocurrency project, where he basically the goal is to distribute wealth across everybody. So the scanning of a retina is a way to determine that it's actually you. One person only has the same eye, nobody else has the same eye as you. So they give you some world coins, which you can look up the value, but it's a couple of dollars. And they are targeting poor third world countries to get started because if you just go to Google Trends and type WorldCoin and scroll down, you'll see the distribution by country, and it's like Kenya or like African country, other African countries, or like Indonesia, Malaysia, like very poor countries, or even India and Pakistan. And I don't know, like they just are trying to maximize for distribution and get as much biomarker data as possible. And if you look at their site and terms and conditions, it's not very clear. Like you can just summarize it like trust me, bro. Like that's entire policy of the private data. They don't really say what they're gonna do with it or how they're gonna protect it. And just like if you read 1984 or Brave New World, like these dystopian novels, like it's straight out of that. Like it's so scary, it's not even funny. Because like sure you can have a utopia world where the wealth is equally distributed and everybody has the same amount of coins or whatever or like similar, but you can also have a complete nightmare where every camera can scan you and sees your eye, and it's that guy who didn't pay a debt, and boom, it's like you're done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's weird. That's hard to figure out. I mean, I think you outlined it well of it like it can sound really good in theory, but that's almost the point of those dystopian novels is here we've come
Yeah,
up with this theory framework that should work perfectly where everyone's really
exactly.
happy, but then it doesn't play out that way.
So
So
like
I
if
don't
you
know.
think
It's
about,
also tricky.
yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead. I was just gonna say it's tricky too, like judging, for example, like we've talked about Sam Altman and all the good things he's done, how he's really smart. So I want to trust him for what he's doing and saying he knows what's up. But I mean, no one's perfect. Everyone can make mistakes. Everyone can think something's a good idea and then have it go in a direction they weren't foreseeing and not be a good idea at all.
Yeah, sometimes the best ideas actually turn out to be like really bad in execution. So like if you look at all the like economic philosophies, like communism sounds the best on paper, but in
Hmm.
practice it has the worst results out of all of them. And
Yeah.
nobody can really argue with that. Even people like nobody can dispute history, what happened in the Soviet Union and stuff like that. Like no matter what political party anybody supports, like the results are there, right? So like with the WorldCoin, it sounds amazing on paper, right? the poorest people will get some wealth that AI replaces, because that's the idea, right? Because AI is going to benefit people who are on the cutting edge. Like me and you are probably going to benefit from AI, right? We're not going to like sleep under the bridge because some AI took our job. No, we're going to learn the latest AI tools and implement them and make even more money and be even more successful. But the vast majority of population, they don't even know about AI. And even if they know about it, they don't know what it is. They're kind of scared of it. They think it's just some, the next hype or whatever. And to like 1/3 of the world, 2 billion people, doesn't even have internet. So like those people can't even, they can't even learn about it because they don't have internet. So that's the idea, to distribute the money that will be generated with AI, which will go into the hands of the few and people who are like on the cutting edge, to distribute it to the people who are at the bottom of the society. So that's that's the theory, but in application, like how well that will go, personally, I think the likelihood of that going well is much smaller than the likelihood of that going terribly. Like I don't know about you, but I'm not giving anyone my retina for like some couple of dollars. I don't even know. It's probably even less than $1. I don't know what the current conversion rate is, but it's definitely not. It's like either it's less than $1 or like a few dollars. So like, is that really worth it, selling your biomarker data for that and just giving that for the rest of your life to somebody? I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. But I guess also the thing is like I'm in a place where I can say I wouldn't do it. If I was really,
Exactly.
really poor and struggling to find food, then I
But
probably
that's what's
would.
sketchy about the project, because they are targeting those poor countries where people will do it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
in China, there are like a bunch of companies who already just like, so okay, a person scans the retina and they send, like the Chinese, let's say it's in Kenya or whatever, they send some Chinese, either it's programmers, like tech guys who know what's going on, big in crypto, and they go to those people like minutes after they walk out of the Worldcoin scanning, and they just immediately like resell and get their coins. So it completely defeats the purpose of
Hmm.
Worldcoin being decentralized and in the hands of the population when there are already Chinese companies and like people who are just like buying off from those poor people, just like, I'll give you double, I'll give you triple, and they hand over all that money, all those world coins, and so they scan the retina. They don't have the world coins, and they did that for a couple of dollars because, as you said, those people are struggling to feed their families, so they don't have much of a choice. But it's just like completely defeats the purpose of the world coin when it can be abused this way. And if someone already, I'm saying China, it's probably happening in more countries than China. I only heard about China, so that's why I'm saying it. But let's say if those Chinese companies are already amassing hundreds and hundreds or thousands of world coins, so like the project is completely sabotaged. It's like,
Yeah. That's a crazy lesson in unintended consequences. Like I mean, even as you were describing it before we got to that, I never would have thought that people would just instantly buy the coins for a slight profit off the people who just got them. Yeah, they totally would, and then just hoping that it goes up in value, and now you're sitting on 100,000 world coins, and you can sell them. And like I don't know, wherever there's an opportunity to make money, people are going to try to make money. That's just one of the truths of humanity.
yeah. So personally, like I think the AI problem is obviously a real problem because most people are super behind. But like my approach or my solution is to educate those people about it. Make content about AI and actually teach them what it is and how they can use it, instead of just like, hey, here are some coins. Because like that almost never works. Like if you go to the homeless guy and give him $1,000, like his life will be worse after that. Like sure, he might buy some food, but like we all know what they are gonna buy. So like a lot of the times it's just an issue of education rather than just giving someone a free handout. And also most people don't want free
Yeah,
handouts if you think about it.
I agree. I
Most people
agree.
want to like earn
Yeah,
it.
hmm yeah. Like it's not poverty isn't just a money problem. It's also a problem of, like you said, education and opportunity in relationships, and personal management and all of these skills that don't just happen if you give someone money, but you have to teach them these things and help them not even necessarily teach, but also provide the opportunities where they can do this. Like there's plenty of very, very smart people who are really poor and struggling to find food because there just aren't job opportunities in their country because there's corruption or crime or war or things like that. And so like there's so much of the infrastructure excuse me, that's missing that can help pull people out of poverty. But if it's not there, you're just going to be stuck. And just giving people money even through a Worldcoin, it maybe sounds good, but I don't think long term would be that helpful.
Yeah, and even in developed countries, like I think me and you were like lucky because we found self-help and self-improvement so early. And a lot of people, they maybe heard about it, but they don't read the book or they don't buy the book. You know, like that's an insane. Like right now we're still young, so the impact is not really clear. I mean, I think it's clear, but it's not as insane as like in 10 years where we'll see like, okay, the difference between us and the average guy of our age. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 23.
Okay, so like, most people your age are definitely behind in terms of like education and success. Like you might think that you're not the most successful guy, but you're still more successful than 99% of people. And in 10 years that gap is going to be even bigger. And all of that because we were lucky enough to find that first book. So as you said, like for Hour Workweek, for me it was probably Think and Grow Rich, I think, or just like Gary V content and valuetainment content on YouTube. So like,
Yeah.
if we didn't get recommended those videos or those books, we wouldn't have found that and we won't have the knowledge we have today. So like it's just like a lot of the times it's pure luck in terms of the first step. Like I didn't know that you can be an entrepreneur and not have a 9 to 5. Like I didn't know that. I just found that out on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will say that is one thing that I'm really excited about for the future of the world. Because I will often kind of poo-poo on social media and how it's ruining people's attention spans and acting as a form of distraction and all this stuff. But like you said, so much of your learning and my learning as well has come through content, like especially on YouTube, but on all social media platforms, where you can see someone who is living the life you want, even if that life is really cheesy and gross. Like I'm sure you've seen all these make money online guys where they're like
Yeah.
chilling in their pool with the stacks of money and they've got their Lamborghini behind them. And it's just like, okay, get out of here. Like that's ridiculous. But you still see that and you go, maybe I could have that. Maybe I don't want to act like that, but that seems like it's a real possibility.
Yeah.
And then from there that you can take it in a healthier direction where you say, okay, what business could I start? And then you find the people who are teaching you how to start that business and you watch that and you grow and you learn and you learn and you learn. But if you look at, like, say, I mean, even 30 years ago, before the internet exists, no, like the only role models that you can look up to are really the people around you, like the people in your neighborhood or your community. There's books, and I guess there's like movie stars, and maybe people looked up
Yeah.
to movie stars, but there just wasn't the number of role models that we have today. And so even if you're really poor, as long as you've got an internet connection, you can find someone and say, I'd like to be like that. And then you can work to become like that. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, without the internet, like it's hard to say because like we all think that yeah, I would be successful regardless, but like you just don't know. Like there's so much randomness, and the timing for us to be born during this age is insane. It's like we got the internet,
Yeah.
and now AI is coming. The next revolution is like, it's so crazy. Because like there were times in history where there was literally nothing to do. You were just, you know, working on someone's farm that someone owned, and you had a feudal lord, and that's what you did your entire
Yep.
life. There wasn't some
And some
technological
raiders
break.
might come and just kill you
Yeah,
and burn the field, and then that's it. You're cooked.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so you mentioned that you have some full-time job. I thought like from the videos you're going to college. So did you finish that already?
Yes. So this past May, I just graduated from college, and so now I do have a 9 to 5. And so that's that. I mean, hopefully we will end that eventually, but for right now, that is what I have.
And what were you studying?
Marketing.
Okay, so very related to YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, it helps a lot for sure. As well as I minored in business analytics, so I like to have that like kind of analytical side of things. I'm an analytical person, so that helped as well.
Yeah, okay. So, what would you say was like the hardest things you ever done? Because you've done like you did the 14-hour Jordan Peterson routine, you did the David Goggins 48 challenge. So, like, what's the hardest challenge or just thing you've ever done?
Let's see. The David Goggins one was definitely up there. I think I said in that video it was physically the hardest thing I've ever done, and that's true. But I also think that's not saying that much because most people don't do that many physically hard things. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe a really hard workout someday, or like if you played sports in high school or growing up, maybe you had like a match that was really tough. And it's like, yeah, that's hard, but it's not. I don't know, it's not crazy hard. So that was one. Um, there was a time period in early COVID that was really strenuous from a work perspective because I was working at this startup part time and I was taking up a decent amount of time. I was doing school full time, even though it was remote. But then I also had just picked up a job doing digital marketing for this small company in Minnesota where I live. But I didn't know anything about digital marketing, and so I just took the job and I talked to this guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I bet you'll be good." And I was like, "Okay, cool, let's do it." And then I bought a book on SEO and bought a book on Google Ads and bought a book on Facebook ads and just read them all and then started like learning how to do this. And then at the same time is that I was also preparing for consulting interviews because I was for a while considering going into consulting. And if people don't know about consulting interviews, it's really, really complicated and really intense. And you have to go through like all these cases that they prepare you for that you can answer. And so I was doing all of these things at once and I was basically working like 16 hours a day. And then I'd like read for an hour at night and then I would go to sleep. And then that was my entire day. And it was, I don't know, like at least a month of that was just my daily routine. And this was all while COVID was happening. So I was separated from friends and things like that. So that was one of the most like intense working periods, I would say, of like we're just going, 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 balls to the wall the entire time. So that one was pretty hard. So that's up there. David Goggins is up there. The other one that is difficult, not super difficult, but difficult enough that I think is people should give it a try sometime is doing an extended fast. So I've done a 3 day fast of no food, just water. There's a lot of health benefits with that we could get into, but that was one that is just a constant. It's like kind of like a constant pain that you're dealing with, but it builds a mental strength to be able to say, no, I'm said I'm going to do this, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to eat. And so that was another one that was pretty tough.
Yeah, I think people have to really try that one because it sounds easier than it is. Because I did 2 days, and
Okay, yeah.
the first day is kind of easy, like you still have some energy, but then the second day hits and like your energy is gone completely. And like I don't know, I don't want to like talk about how hard it is because I know there are people like Mr. Beast who did 14 days or Phidias who did
Yeah,
13
yeah.
days. So like there are people who did much more than that. But even just like 2 or 3 days, like you will see what it's like to not have any energy because people say like they're tired and they like don't even know what it means to be tired.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually
I will
like
say though,
how much energy we get from food because that's something we don't realize until it's gone.
yeah, yeah. No, it's very true.
You were about to say something.
No, I decided that was not worth saying.
Okay, so what's the vision about behind your channel, like why did you start it and what's your like big plan for it?
Why I started it was, I guess, it's kind of the same as the vision. I want to be a place where people can learn and be inspired. I think that's what the best things do is they teach you information, but they also inspire you. And if we're talking about going back to the 4 Hour Work Week and how that was really impactful for me, the feeling that I had after reading that book was one of inspiration. Like my life could be way, way, way better. And there's a lot of YouTube videos that I've watched over the years that have left me feeling inspired and have inspired me to go and make changes in my life. So I don't know if you know the channel Yes Theory.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, yeah, they were a big influence on me early on, especially when it comes to travel, and were a big part of the reason that I actually left to go travel to Costa Rica for 2 months, and I actually took some time off of school to go do that, which for me was a big deal at the time. Um, and so I wanted to do that because I've had all these experiences of watching a video and just getting that feeling when the editing is so good and the music is so good and the storytelling is so good and it all comes together to just make you go, wow, like this is crazy. This life we're living is insane. And it makes you want to go do something and achieve something. And so I hope to provide that while also being interesting to people so that they can learn something as well. And so part of for me with the challenge-based videos is I also wanted something that would teach me something or push me in a new direction. And so it's kind of a way to get all three of those at once. Like I can hone my video editing skills and provide something that's hopefully inspiring and educational while also teaching me some new habits and routines of successful people. So that's kind of the general idea. I'm now um, I've actually made plans to and just posted the first video of a different channel that's taking a slightly different approach, and I don't really want to talk about that one just yet because it's still kind of building it out, and we're kind of in
Fair enough.
figuring things out. But I'm really excited about that. I think my grand plan, not just for the channel, but for things that I think that there's so much information online, and that's great. And we've been talking about how information is really powerful to help educate people and inform people. But I think what we're seeing now with the internet is a lack of community and a lack of people getting together to actually take action on those things. And I wish there was more of an opportunity to do that. So I think what that could look like is some sort of group where people get together on a weekly basis and maybe learn something together, or we could do like a different seminar talking about a certain area of life and give some practical tips on how to improve that. And then also serve as a way to connect people with each other to just form genuine friendships, not even where it has to be like we're both trying to do this thing, but just like I just like hanging out with you, like just someone who's fun and makes life a little bit better, but also at the same time then can help hold people accountable as we all work towards this goal of like learning and living a good life. And I don't know exactly what that will look like, but I think that's really powerful. And you've already seen it, for example, in like religion, like that's sort of the general premise. I think religion, some of religion is founded on things that aren't true. That's why I don't believe it. But I think the value behind religion is very, very clear and has existed for thousands of years. So replicating something like that could be really powerful.
It's very interesting you said that because recently I read in the book The Lessons of History is that there wasn't any successful civilization in history, in all of history, without religion. And I think right now we're running a
Mm,
kind of dangerous experiment where the religion is getting so much hate for not being scientifically accurate and like evolution is the new religion, but it's not about that. Like it's just like the concepts. Like if you have someone, if you like let's say hypothetical, right, you're walking down the street and it's midnight, complete darkness, and there are like two guys approaching, right, and you don't know anything about them, they look the same, but you just know that one of them is a devout Christian and the other is not. Like, which one are you gonna feel safer going towards, right? Obviously, the Christian. Why? It's not about being scientifically accurate. It's all the values that come with being religious, right?
hmm
If you believe in
hmm
God, you're not gonna just mug someone or like attack someone because you think God is watching. So it's all about like the downstream effects because people who are like big in the science and even the tech community, like AI and stuff like that, people just immediately hate on religion, but they don't realize like the implications of having no religion and the fact that in history there wasn't a single civilization who survived without religion is something that nobody kind of thinks about.
Yeah. I never thought about that before. I never heard that said, but I mean, makes total sense when you say it. What was the book that came from? You said it was the history of
Uh, the lessons of history.
the lessons of history. Okay. I'll
Yeah,
have to check that out.
yeah. It's actually a really short read, given that it's a history book. It's only like it's literally 104 pages. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Well,
it's one of the like greatest history books of all time. So the part on religion is like I don't know, 7 8 pages, and it's insane. Like you just realize the importance of religion. And before I was like more leaning towards the people who were like hating on religion for it being like kind of old and antiquated and just behind the times. But like there are so many benefits that come from religion. As you said, the community that's completely gone, especially social media, which is like should be more social. But let's be honest, everybody is less social because of social media. Nobody goes on
yeah.
social media and you know just attends live events after live events. It just takes that time that you would spend in real life and replaces it with screen time, which obviously isn't ideal for social interactions. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's very interesting that you said the religion, because like I'm not a religious guy myself, but only recently have I been realizing the sheer benefits, the massive historical benefits of religion and the role that it plays. Because like if the poor people are like, as you said, can't afford food and anything, just believing that there is a God and that like there is a better place coming keeps them going. But right now
Hmm.
in the developed world, especially in the West, like the downfall of religion, just if you have complete a shit life and you don't believe in God and anything, like it's much easier to just do something horrible and take that self-harm action rather than just sticking through it, reading the Bible or whatever other religion you believe in, and just sticking through the hard times. So I think religion is absolutely huge in a society, and I think we should definitely have more religion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like we've created this gap where religion, a lot, like you said, a lot of people are falling away. I think for what I would say good reasons, or I guess I just mean like I think there are things that religion believes that aren't true, and you can discard those, but there's then you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater by getting rid of
Yeah.
all the values and
See,
community and all
but
these
does it
other
matter?
aspects.
That's like my thought on it. Does it matter what is true if the true things bring massively worse results and make your life miserable?
Mm.
Like, does it matter? Like,
I
I would much rather be completely delusional and believe in something that makes my life better than believe in the truth and be scientifically accurate, but be just miserable all the time. So, like, if someone
yeah,
believes
no,
in God, it's like, all the power to them.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And that's why I would never try to persuade someone that God isn't real or that some of their beliefs about religion aren't true ever. I think if you believe it, great. My issue is I think because of my understanding and knowledge of science, I don't think I can even like I couldn't even trick
Yeah,
myself into believing it
dude,
because it just seems to conflict with so many things. If I could, I
dude,
probably would, man. It seems like they're living a pretty good life, but I just can't.
dude. I'm gonna say something controversial. The Bible needs an update. Like, I recently, recently, I recently tried reading the Bible, and it's just like, dude, it's not for the 21st century. It starts with Genesis, right? The creation of the
Mhm.
world. And it's like, on day one, God created heavens and earth. On day two, he created water and land, whatever. And it's like on day five, he creates the sun. And light and darkness was created on day two. It's like, so why is sun created on day five? It's just like so weird. Like I feel like if it started with
Yeah.
some, if with some like deep, profound story and some lesson, it would be much better than if it started with Genesis. I think like that's just good for like 300 years ago when nobody really knew anything, like scientifically. But right now it's just like you want to give it an honest try, which is what I wanted to do, and you start with that. It's like I don't know, man. It's just, and I know there are deep lessons in the Bible, but just like, I think it should be restructured for the 21st century and start with those deep lessons and those deep stories that have profound, timeless wisdom instead of just Genesis
Mhm.
and, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with a lot of what you're saying on the value there is huge, but some of it is kind of lost in these other areas.
Okay, so what's your like goal, ideal case scenario? Would you have your own business? Would it be YouTube full time?
I don't know if it would be YouTube full time. It would be at least be YouTube would be a part of it. I can't foresee stopping YouTube for a while. I really love the craft of making videos. Um, I would like to own my own business, work for myself. I would like to have a team though with some other people. Like right now, it's just me. Sometimes it gets a little lonely. I don't know if you ever find that. But so I think building something with other people is really impactful, and so I want to do more of that. Um, but yeah, building a business, I don't necessarily feel like I need to have a ton of money. I would like to have some, but I don't need a ton. I just more so want the lifestyle that it can bring. But then I don't know. I think I go back to that idea a lot of how do I build community and values and morals for other people that really make life better. Like it seems like so many people are missing that and want that of all the people I've talked to, and I want to try to make that into a reality.
And what would you say is like preventing you from that, from like starting the business and just going full time on that?
Um, I don't know. Nothing really. I guess right now it's just more of like the time thing. I mean, I have the plan for. YouTube and this new channel that I'm starting, and I'm working on that. I have been for quite some days, but I just gotta keep going and keep going until we get to the point where I can earn the income to quit the full-time job, and then from there keep going.
Dude, if it's about the income, then I think first I think you should read Alex Hormozi's book, $100 million Offers, because I think even with your current audience, you could probably already go full time if you just had an amazing offer. Like you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. There are much better ways to monetize. And I'm saying this as someone who just still doesn't have a good product. So, I should have more experience. But I literally this morning I finished $100 million offers, and it just like kind of made me realize that there are so many more ways to monetize. And I think seriously, even with 15,000, you could maybe not full time, but you could like definitely multiple four figures a month if you had a good offer to pair that with, combined with maybe like 2 videos a month or whatever you want. Like I definitely think, like seriously, read the book. It's like 150 pages. You'll read it in like a day or two.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard good things about that book, so I'll have to check that out.
Okay, so I want to respect your time since you said you need to leave. So thanks for the podcast, man, and I would like to have a part 2 in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. This is a blast, and like I said, I just found your channel through stumbling online, but it seems like you're doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I can tell you're very driven and very interested in AI and the craft of YouTube. So uh, I'm just excited to see where you go.
Yeah, I'm just getting started, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.